What up, dogs? No, never saying that again. So welcome back to Drum Electric. Have you ever wanted your drum pads? I feel like I'm already an advert, but stick with me. Have you ever wanted your drum pads and sounds to change automatically? So you're playing, you hit a trigger, shugga-dugga boof, trigger changes sound, and you don't have to touch anything. Because we've always had that awkward, like, trying touch that plus and minus button on the SPD, for example, or a drum pad, and it just fumbles. So with this, we can now change it automatically, which is amazing. So automation in Ableton is super fun, and this is something that I'm now using way too often, and I'm definitely okay with that. But it basically means that we can set out all of our backing tracks all labeled up nicely with our click tracks, and we can also automate the SPD or a drum pad, any that sends a MIDI signal. We can make that change as our backing track goes along. So verse 1, you have a drum kit sound that sounds really techno and house, and then in the chorus you're just doing random claps and percussive elements and stuff like that as you're playing your acoustic kit. Stuff like that. It gets really cool, and it means that you don't have to worry about faffing with the SPD. If you're a guy like me that you prefer to set the SPD aside out of the way and use triggers around the kit, then this is a great option. It means that you can, like I say, have your triggers just there, set and forget them, and then they just change and they just become a really more natural part of your playing. So just a quick heads up before we get into the nitty gritty and set up our little Ableton project, that if you've never seen Ableton before, then it's worth just pausing the video here and then going and just having a quick peruse of the program. If it's something that you've got and you've never really explored it, this is your chance. I believe in you. But it's not something that I'm going to be teaching on this lesson. All I'm going to be doing here is showing you a technique. Now, this technique isn't particularly hard or ferocious. It's just I'll be going through and saying some stuff that you may not know how to do without prior experience with Ableton. You don't have to be a master, just kind of figure out where things are, where things live, and then come back, hit play on this video, and we'll go through again together how to make a drum rack. So let's get straight behind that kit and let's build this automated goodness. Let's go. And as always, welcome in behind the kit. I've got my Mac connected to all of the good fun stuff over here, so as you can probably just about see through this mishmangle of symbols and stuff like that, I've got my SPD connected. Now that's going just USB MIDI into my Mac. It's nothing spectacular. You can obviously do this through the MIDI cables and stuff like that, but I've just got it simplest form, MIDI through USB. Now, like I just said, if you've not really tried this sort of thing yet, so going from MIDI from the SPD to your laptop, or Ableton as a whole program, then take a minute just to explore it. Because I'm not going to be going through the basics of Ableton in this video. This is for if you already have some knowledge in Ableton. So we're going to be building our drum pad, and it's going to be all automated and it's going to change accordingly. Now, I'd normally do this with backing tracks and stems and stuff, but for now, I'll just do a really simple rig so you get the idea, and then you can experiment accordingly. So it's going to be a good time. Okay, on my screen here, you can see Ableton. This is just a blank template. It's opened up, brand new. It's, is what it is. So all we need is one MIDI track for this to work. Now, you can do this in a couple of different ways. Again, as per usual, this is just how I do it. So make sure you find your own special kind of way of doing this. But for me, I'm just going to keep with the one MIDI track just because it keeps it nice, easy, nice and simple. So on this MIDI track, well, first things first, you want to make sure you're getting, signal into Ableton from your SPD, which is always, it's always a bonus when doing this sort of thing. I've got 3 triggers set up here. So I've got the KT10 down by my foot, I've got the BT1, and then the RT30. You can't see any of these. Well done, Harry. The RT30HR on just a meshed head. And then obviously I've got the SPD over here. As I said earlier, I usually use the SPD to control the program. The triggers are what changes. But this absolutely works on the individual pads. As long as you're sending a MIDI signal to your laptop, all's good. So I'll just hit the kick. There we go. You can see in the top right corner, there's a little orange flashing light. That means MIDI signals coming in, which is really good. So our MIDI track, I'm just going to rename it with Command R, SPD-SX. And I spelt it right. So that's good. So in here, all we're going to do is drag an instrument rack and then a drum rack within. Now the reason why we do that is the instrument rack allows us to have multiple drum racks in there. So this drum rack, I'm just going to Command D and duplicate that, because in this example I'm only using 2 different kits, whereas if I had a whole set there'd be multiple ones, so there'll be 8, 10, however many you like. I believe you can go up to 127 if not more, but you'll see why in a minute. So the first one I'm just going to name Kit 1, rename it up here, Kit 1, and then the second one Kit 2. Now again on the gig, Kit 2. I'm just mashing the keyboard. You know when you're typing and you're not typing, you're just kind of going meh, 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 meh. That I apologize, that's this. So again, this is just for demo purposes. Rename these whatever you wish. Drum Donuts 1, Big Fat Kit 1, anything you like. For now, Kit 1, Kit 2, it's a good job. The first one, I'm just going to use the snare and the BT1. I don't want anything on my kick. So, take a stick. There we go, hit the pad, and then you can see down here on the drum rack, it changed accordingly. If I hit the BT1, there you go, it's on note D1. Now, this could be literally anywhere on your whole thing, but this is a case of just hitting the drum pad and finding out where it goes. You can change the MIDI note on the actual SPD itself. I'm not going to go through that now, but it's really easy. You just go to the MIDI options and then change whichever number you want. So in my case, at the moment, I've got the RT30HR on C#1, and then the BT1 on D1. That's a lot of words and numbers. So on the snare, I'm just going to drag, I want these. I've already chosen my samples. It's a good time. I'm going to go with my snare sample on the snare on C#1. Just make sure that works. Beautiful. And then the clap on the D1, which is the BT1. Stunning. Now with these, I tend to turn the volume to 0 and then the velocity to 0, just because it makes it all kind of equal and loud, which is what we want. So if I should change those to 0, there you go, they're louder as you can hear already. Now if I do it together, something like that. Proper dance, you know the drill. So that's our first kit. That is that done. Obviously, this could be done with as many MIDI inputs as you like. It doesn't have to be with the SPD-SX. You can do it with a keyboard. It's literally, if it's sending a MIDI signal, you can program it, which is one of my favorite things about Ableton. So that's kit 1. Kit 2, I'm going to have more of a groove thing. So this is where I'm using my KT10 on the floor. So I'm just going to hit that. There we go, C1. It's just appeared right there. It's a good time for everybody. So, head into my little groove sample folder. Kick Fat 4, because we all love a Kick Fat 4. And then I know my snare is C#1, and then I know my hats are on D1, which is my BT1. So, again, in here, just going to change the volume to 0, velocity to 0, same thing on here, 0, 0, and on here, 0, 0. Okay, there you go. So you'll get... I recommend wearing headphones for this if you aren't already. Just, it'll sound a lot more beefier. Anyway, so you'll hear as I hit it, and you can see it. Obviously, you've only got one kick, but if I hit that snare, it's sampling both kits. Now, you might want this, but for right now, we want those as 2 separate kits. And this is where the whole automation thing comes in great. This is where it starts getting real fancy. If you go on your instrument rack, you go to the chain, this old bad boy comes up. Now, this is where it gets very fun. And very fiddly. I mean, this is just... If anyone finds a zoom for this, please let me know, because you'll see how fiddly it is, and you just get mildly offended. I mean, just watch this. So you want to wait till this little thing is up, and then just drag it to 1, and then... I nailed that, and then to 2. Okay, so that's going to move along. If you've got 8 kits, you'll go 1 through to 8. If you've got 16, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on, all the way up to 16. Okay, this is where the automation comes in. So if I hit anything, nothing will come up because I haven't assigned it anything. If we head over to arrangement view, I just hit the tab key. If you're not familiar with your shortcuts, obviously you can press the buttons up here. There's session, there's arrange, it's a good time. This is where we automate it, okay? So up here, we've got the little automation arrows. This is my arrows. Put my sticks down. I'll treat myself. Put my sticks down. I've got the little automation arrows. Hit that, we get this up. Not much has changed, but you can now see there's a dotted red line across our timeline. So we want to just select the instrument rack and then the chain selector. And you may have worked this out already. If not, don't worry, stick around. I'm just going to zoom into those first couple of bars. Okay, so I'm going to create a little dot, move that to beginning, and then kit 1. Okay, so that means only kit 1 is sounding. So as you saw, there's no sound of the kick because I haven't assigned it anything. There we go. You can hear it on the triggers. Okay, so I'm going to have that for 4 bars, let's say, and then after the 4th bar, I'm going to change to kit 2. And now, if you have a whole song, you'll do this for your entire song. Yes, it takes a while, but I promise you the hard work that you put into this will mean a better show. The longer you spend learning this, the quicker it will get over time. You can just do it really quick, and then you start building templates. So like, oh, I've got this show coming up. I know I need this sort of automation. I just load that up. So after 4 bars, it'll do that. Now, a little tip is that with this sort of thing, I'm always eager on the gig. We all know when you're on a gig, the nerves are flying, the adrenaline's there. You'll play it either a bit faster or a bit slower. For me, I tend to play a little bit faster. So I'm just going to nudge these little automation blobs. That's the official name as of now, automation blobs. You hear that, Ableton? Automation blobs. I just drag them slightly before the first beat of the bar. That just means that it'll change slightly before, so if I hit it slightly earlier, it'll be there with me and I won't just be hitting stuff and no sounds and I miss it. So it's just creating these little redundancies in there as you know you're playing. So I'm going to chuck the click on, see how this runs, have a listen, it's great fun, okay? So in theory, after 4 bars, if this has all worked, our kit should change. So I'm going to hit play, see what happens. Here we go. Yes! And there you have it. So obviously that was an 8-bar demo or whatever it was. So you can do this for a whole gig, and that's what I usually do. So you can do this with different modules. I'm just doing this with the SPD-SX, but you can do this with the TM6, the TM2. You can even go as far as getting the TD50, which is the brain of an electric drum kit, triggering out your whole kit and automating the whole thing. Yes, it will take a while, but it'll be really cool. You can play your gig, you don't have to focus on anything else, and whatever sound you want will be there. And that's what I love about it, is the fact that I can just be playing some groove, I can be grooving with the band, sorry hi-hats, and then I hit triggers and they just work. And that is the best in the world. So there you go. That's a really quick introduction to how to automate drum pads. And as always on these little outro videos, and that is that. We've built our automated drum pad. Now, like I said at the end of that little section, is that this is something that will take time. It will, if you're doing this for a whole couple of sets with a function band, for example, or you've got an hour and a half, 2 hour set, it's gonna take you a while to automate the drum pads throughout the whole show. I've done it myself on multiple shows. It does take a while, but the more you do it, the quicker you'll get, the easier it'll be, the more you'll explore this software, and the more powerful it becomes, because as you go along, you'll learn new things, you'll discover really cool things that you can do, like making the little knobs on the SPD MIDI-able, so you can change volume on certain tracks. I'll get into that in a later video. It's really cool. But my point is, take the time to learn this. Don't rush this, because that's what ruins gigs and makes things bad and stuff like that. Put the effort in now, and then it'll repay itself in the future, I promise. As always, if you have any questions about this, please chuck them in the comment section down below, or if you have any subjects that you would really want to see me teach or you're not quite sure how to do yet and you'd love to see on this YouTube channel, chuck them in the comments down below. Hit that like button and subscribe for all of our shiny new videos, and I will see you in the next one.